And good morning, Iona College. Welcome to WICR. Hello to my Twitter followers at Brovian93. And Facebook friends, if you're somehow watching this, hello to you too. And hello to all of you watching this live right here on Ustream. So it's Wednesday morning. Very important show today. And a lot of things to get to. Topic number one on today's show will be, of course, last week I made an error. I said that the UK by-elections were being held last Wednesday. In fact, it was held last Thursday instead. So I apologize for that error. For those of you, or any of you who were, up all Wednesday night to find out what happened, I apologize. I got it a day late. It was Thursday, not Wednesday. But it was a very important day in UK politics. Very big results. There were two by-elections. One of them was held in Clacton, where the UKIP candidate was favored to win. And boy, did he win big. Big win for him that day. And the other one was in Haywood and Middleton. Which is seen as a Labour stronghold. Labour had a big majority in that seat in the last election. And they held it. But boy, wait till you see what the polls said before the election and what the actual result was. So we'll start off with that. After that, we'll talk about some Doctor Who. For the first time since probably week 3 of the season, we've had a good episode. Not just a watchable episode, but a fantastic episode. Probably the best episode of the season. So, new writers, new era hopefully. We never know with Doctor Who. Really good stuff there. And our third topic today will be the question for all New Yorkers going to the polls this election day. Your question will basically be, is New York winning or is New York losing under Governor Cuomo? And we'll answer that as well. Of course, by asking this question, you already know what my answer is, and I will try to convince you to follow my line of thought, or at least see my line of thought, and make up your own mind. And if we have time for the show, later on the show, if there's time, I'm planning to get a little bit of pony rivalry. Yes, I am a fan of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. And hopefully my boy Paul McGovern will see this. And, he watches sometimes, so hopefully he watches this episode, and we can start a pony war, on Facebook and stuff. That might be kind of cool, a pony war. But first, we'll get to the first topic of the day, the UK by-elections, and what a day it was for UKIP. If the party didn't break through officially after the European elections, or the local elections, then on last Thursday, this party officially broke through. And UKIP is no longer the party of the loonies, is no longer the party of laughs, and, without any credibility. This party now officially has credibility. They won the European elections with most votes and most seats back in May. They had their first MP, and they are now invading Labour strongholds and conservative strongholds. And they might be, in a couple of elections, who knows, they might be the next third party of the UK. Because according to the latest polls, and these results do show, and also in the European elections, the Liberal Democrat vote is pretty much non-existent. It's collapsing. Like there's no tomorrow. I mean, these polls, they're dropping double digits in some of these places. And in an election poll taken out yesterday for May election, their poll numbers are not very good at all. In fact, they're pretty much embarrassing. And how Nick Clegg is still leader of this party is a mystery to me. Even though I think Nick Clegg is a man of integrity for debating Nigel Farage to begin with, which arguably gave him the European election victory. Why he's still leader after these results and after these polls are coming out is still a mystery to me. But anyway, we'll get more into that later on as we get close into the general election and party strategies and the manifestos. But let's go look at the results first. Beginning in Clacton, the Clacton by-election. This is where this is where the Conservative MP resigned his seat and switched parties from the Conservatives to UKIP. So he went to the people and said, hey, I'm changing parties. Do you agree with me? If not, I'll be defeated. If you do agree with me, then I'll be elected. And boy, he was re-elected in a huge, and I mean a huge mandate. The UKIP candidate, Douglas Carswell, former Conservative, in 2010, he got 53% of the vote. And that's a lot. And in 2010, UKIP did not have any candidate stand in the seat. And Douglas Carswell received 60% of the vote. He went up 7 points in the last election. The Conservative vote, of course, dropped. They got about 25%. Labour got about 11%. They dropped too. Labour dropped about 14 points. The Liberal Democrat pretty much lost all their votes. They got like 2% of the vote. And the Greens got about 2%. Actually, the Green Party defeated the Liberal Democrats in this seat, which is very rare to see. You don't see that often. But when you do, it's big news. And the others got about 1.2%. And one thing I laughed at in this seat was that there's a party called the Official Monster Rary Looney Party. And they got about, I believe, 0.4% of the vote. So this party got votes. Who voted for them and why? Beyond me. Maybe a laugh. Maybe they stood for something. I don't know. But what a huge news for the UKIP. They have won their first MP and they are officially in Westminster. And the swing was probably one of the biggest swings in by-election history. The swing from Conservative to UKIP was 44%. That's big news. And the turnout is even more impressive. The turnout was over half, 51% of Clacton voters voted in this election. Now, whether this was a vote for Carswell himself or for UKIP, is probably debated. But one cannot deny the fact that UKIP is officially a credible party in Westminster politics after this result. And to back up this fact, the other result in Haywood and Middleton is even more impressive. This is a Labour stronghold. Now, this by-election was held because the Labour MP, Jim Dobbin, had passed away. So they had an election to find his replacement. So Labour did hold this seat, but not by much. In 2010, the Labour had a majority of 5,000 votes, almost 6,000, 5,927. And the majority was about 13%. And this result, the polls before the election had Labour over UKIP at 19%. So Labour had a 19% lead over UKIP in these polls leading up to the election. And, the Conservatives had a candidate, but their vote completely dropped. The Liberal Democrats had a candidate. Their vote pretty much collapsed into nothing, really. And the Greens, held a candidate there, too. The Greens might be a force, too, in UK politics. I wouldn't count them out just yet. But the big news is UKIP. And the result was Labour, 41%. UKIP, 39%. So a poll that had Labour over UKIP by 19 points turned out Labour over UKIP by 2%. A majority that was 5,900 became a majority of 617. And this is a Labour stronghold. This is like as Labour as it gets, almost. And UKIP is now 2 points away, 600 votes away from taking that seat. So now that's 2 seats UKIP almost had in their hands. In Eastleigh last year, they lost that seat by about 2,000 votes. And here in Haywood and Middleton, they win this one. They lose this one by 600 votes. So that's 2 more seats UKIP could win in the next election. And now in November, probably, I believe that the next by-election is going to be held in Rochester and Strood. And again, another Conservative MP, the second one this year, Mark Reckles, has defected from Conservative to UKIP, and he too has stood down and asked the people to support his decision in leaving the Conservative Party and joining UKIP. So we'll see how that goes. And he's pretty popular in this seat. He's defending pretty much a 10,000 majority in this seat, which is pretty big, a pretty big majority. And the Conservatives are really going after Mark Reckles. They didn't really go after Carswell, viciously, but they're really going after Reckles. And the latest poll was held 11 days ago. It's by the Survation and Mail on Sunday. And the latest poll is as follows: UKIP 40%, Conservative 31%, Labour 25%, Liberal Democrat 2%, and the others are at 1%. Now the Liberal Democrats got 16% of the vote in this seat. Now they're at 2, which is big news for them because, quite frankly, this is a repeating pattern happening over and over again, which is a mystery to many people. But the Liberal Democrat vote is dropping, and UKIP is on the rise, and this could be their second MP in Parliament before the next election, which is big news. Folks, there might even be more Conservative MPs changing hands, and there might even be a Labour MP or 2 changing hands as well. This is a lot of big news for UKIP. UKIP is dominating the story right now, and UKIP is pretty much changing UK politics as we know it, or as they know it, because we're not British, of course, but as they know it. And why do we care? Well, because I am a big Nigel Farage fan, and Nigel Farage is the leader of UKIP, and this guy is awesome. This guy is the real deal. He is legit. And hopefully this man could someday hold the key to power, maybe in the next general election. And as the latest poll right here for the next UK election will be held in May of 2015, which will be big news in UK politics. And speaking of the next poll, speaking of the poll for the next UK election, the latest poll has come out. It shows Labour 34%, Conservative 30%, Liberal Democrat 8%, UKIP 18%, and the others at 10%. And there is some people saying that the Greens are polling at around 3 to 5% of the vote, which is way higher than about 1% in the last election. So the days of 3-party politics might be over in the UK. You might have a 4th party in UKIP. You might have a 5th party in the Greens, the SNP in Scotland. Maybe Plaid Cymru might get some beef out of this, and become a 3rd party in Wales or a 4th party in Wales. They have about 1 or 2 seats, I believe, maybe 3 in Wales. So the days of 1, of 2, and 3-party politics in the UK might officially be over after the next general election. And oh, by the way, that poll was from YouGov and The Sun. The YouGov and The Sun did that poll. So it's a pretty credible poll. And the UKIP people, or the UKIP skeptics out there who have blasted UKIP for the past year, saying that all these things are flukes and that their poll numbers will go down as this year prolonged into next year. Well, quite frankly, the numbers are pretty consistent. They either range from 12 to 16%, at times 18% even. So the polls are mostly going in an upward direction, even though I think they will go down a bit, but not much. So UKIP is a real player, and the Greens might be a real player as well. So very interesting things happening right now in the UK. A lot of things happening also here in New York politics. And a lot of interesting things are happening right now in Doctor Who. So coming up next, we'll talk about Doctor Who and the newest episode they had last Saturday. Something about a mummy. I forgot what it's called. But we'll talk about some Doctor Who next, and then we'll talk about New York politics right afterwards. You're listening to my show here on Wednesday mornings. We'll be back right after this.